Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Erin Krakow had always been the quiet center of Hope Valley, the steady heartbeat that fans could rely on no matter how turbulent the fictional world around her became. But the day news broke about Loughlin's return for When Calls the Heart Season 14. Something shifted in the fandom. It wasn't simply excitement. It wasn't merely nostalgia. It was a ripple and emotional tremor that moved through the cast, the crew, and especially Erin herself. And it didn't take long before Erin Krakow stepped forward with the kind of heartfelt message that only she could deliver. A message that felt like a warm hug wrapped in gratitude, forgiveness, and the unbreakable spirit of the show. The announcement itself had stunned the internet. Fans who had followed When Calls the Heart since the early years felt an almost indescribable sense of homecoming. Abigail Stanton wasn't just any character. She was one of the foundations of Hope Valley. Her leadership, her compassion, her maternal steadiness, Abigail, had been deeply woven into the soul of the early seasons. Laurie's departure years ago had created a silent ache among longtime viewers. Something no one spoke about aloud, but everyone felt. And now that ache finally had an answer. The cast began reacting one by one, but all eyes turned naturally to Erin. Elizabeth Thornton had shared a long, emotional on-screen journey with Abigail. Their bond, written and real, had shaped the earliest identity of the show. Fans waited, wondering if Erin would comment, how she would phrase it, and most importantly, what it would reveal about the real relationships behind the scenes. When Erin finally posted her tribute, it wasn't dramatic or flashy. It wasn't designed to stir controversy or capitalize on emotion. Instead, it was soft, graceful, and deeply human. A quiet message of love, support, and memory of the past. Wrapped so beautifully that fans read it again and again just to feel that softness one more time. She talked about friendship, about forgiveness, about growth, about the incredible weight of time, how it shapes relationships and heals wounds if you allow it to. It was the kind of message only someone who truly loved her co-stars, her show, and her audience could write. The moment the tribute hit social media, the fandom exploded. Comment sections filled with gratitude. People weren't just celebrating Laurie's return, they were celebrating Erin's generosity of heart. Many said it felt like Elizabeth herself was speaking, bridging the gap between fiction and reality, offering a reminder that Hope Valley had always been about community, compassion, and fresh beginnings. Erin's tone carried that timeless Hope Valley warmth. She didn't tiptoe around the past, but she didn't dwell on it either. She made space for excitement, space for healing, and space for the shared joy of welcoming an old friend home. Inside the studios, people whispered that Erin had been one of the loudest voices advocating for the return, not out of politics, not out of pressure, but out of genuine love for the integrity of the show. She had always said in interviews that When Calls the Heart was more than a job. It was a community. And communities, when they work, don't just celebrate the easy things. They embrace the complicated ones too. For Erin, Laurie wasn't just a colleague. She had been a mentor, a guiding force, a woman who had welcomed her into the Hallmark world when she was still new, still finding her footing, still learning how to carry the weight of being a lead in a beloved series. And Erin's tribute reflected that history. She spoke about laughter shared on set in the early years, about late-night conversations, about standing side by side in scenes that would later become fan favorites. She didn't mention specifics, but she didn't have to. Her words carried the weight of memories that fans immediately recognized. It wasn't the exact stories that mattered, it was the spirit of gratitude threaded through every line. Then came the behind-the-scenes whispers from Vancouver. The cast had reunited for table reads, and Laurie's chair, empty for so many years, was once again filled. Crew members said the room fell quiet when Laurie stepped in, but within seconds, Erin had crossed over and wrapped her in a hug that broke the tension like sunlight breaking through clouds. Witnesses said the two women looked emotional, reflective, almost overwhelmed by how surreal the moment felt. It wasn't just co-stars reuniting, it was a piece of Hope Valley being restored. Erin's tribute didn't include that detail, but the energy of that reunion radiated through her words. She wrote about how proud she felt to see old bonds rebuilt, how meaningful it was to see longtime fans get a moment they had been waiting for, and how grateful she was for the resilience of the When Calls the Heart family. Fans picked up on that unspoken subtext immediately. They saw it as Erin's gentle way of saying, "This is right. This is good. This is home." As fans dissected her message, many noted how Erin's leadership shone through. She didn't need to make a public statement. No one required it. But she chose to craft a tribute because she understood what her voice meant to the community. She understood the emotional weight of the moment. And she understood, perhaps better than anyone, that the show had always been a symphony of relationships. Abigail and Elizabeth were once the melody. And now that melody had a chance to return. In the following days, Erin continued that warm, steady presence. During interviews, she didn't avoid the topic. She embraced it. She spoke with sincerity about the evolution of the series, the growth of the characters, and the power of redemption for both viewers and cast members alike. She emphasized that storytelling was at its best when it reflects real human journeys, including the winding, imperfect, surprising ones. Her tone held a maturity that fans admired, proof that Erin had grown not only as an actor, but as a leader and guardian of the heart of the show. Meanwhile, Loughlin herself reacted humbly to Erin's tribute. Insiders said Laurie was deeply touched, even emotional, upon reading Erin's words. It meant more than public approval. It symbolized acceptance, friendship, and a full-circle moment years in the making. The two reportedly shared a long, private conversation after filming their scenes together for the first time. They weren't just stepping back into character, they were acknowledging the unexpected paths life had taken them on, and how grateful they were to reconnect in a space filled with creativity and forgiveness. That creative energy carried onto the set. Cast members described the atmosphere as something magical, almost nostalgic. Having Abigail Stanton walk through Hope Valley again felt like rewinding the clock and fast-forwarding it all at once. It reminded everyone of the early days, but felt richer now, deeper, like a story that had grown and matured, alongside its actors and audience. And at the center of it all remained Erin. People close to the production said she brought a renewed sense of lightness to set, laughing more, smiling more, harboring a quiet excitement about what this new chapter could bring. She had always been a beloved presence, but now she seemed somehow more grounded, more compassionate, more assured of the show's future. Her tribute had set a tone, and that tone echoed through every corner of the production. Fans began imagining what Season 14 might bring with Abigail's return. Would she reconnect with Elizabeth in emotional scenes that reignited the soul of the show? Would her character offer guidance, comfort, or a new storyline that deepened Hope Valley's evolving narrative? Erin's message didn't give spoilers, but it made something clear. Whatever Abigail brings back to the show, Erin is ready to embrace it with open arms, and fans should be too. The tribute also reignited conversations about the themes that have always made When Calls the Heart special: forgiveness, love, resilience, and the courage to welcome people back into your life. Erin's message felt like a reminder that these values were not just written into scripts. They were lived by the cast behind the scenes. In a world where negativity often spreads faster than kindness, Erin chose the harder path, building bridges, extending grace, and celebrating the return of someone who had once helped shape her journey. Industry insiders took note as well. Many praised Erin's response as a masterclass in leadership. As the face of the series for so many years, she could have chosen silence or neutrality. But she opted instead to speak from the heart. And by doing so, she not only strengthened her bond with Laurie, but also reassured fans that Hope Valley's core, the sense of belonging, was still intact. As the tribute gained traction, Erin didn't amplify it with interviews or reposts. She let it exist quietly, letting fans interpret it however they needed to. But her co-stars, including Pascal Hutton, Kevin McGarry, and Ben Rosenbaum, reportedly admired how she handled the moment. Many said Erin's message helped set a calm, supportive tone for the entire production. especially as they prepared to film emotional reunion scenes behind closed doors. Erin reflected on how surreal the moment felt. She had spent over a decade growing with this show, becoming part of a family that extended far beyond the fictional world. To see an original member return, one who had shared the earliest dreams and challenges, felt like revisiting an old chapter of her own life. And in that chapter, she found gratitude, nostalgia, and renewed inspiration. Fans felt all of that reflected in her words. They said her tribute reminded them of why they fell in love with When Calls the Heart in the first place. It wasn't just romance or drama. It was the spirit of compassion that made the show feel like a warm, safe place.